Brother Boo, back again. That's right. Break it down. Okay. Well, we had quite an eventful couple sessions. We had a rework of an older drum machine. Then we had another community patch. Much love to Jordan. Appreciate you sending that in. And this is just, I don't know, this is just some old thing I made at some point in the past. It's just labeled C. It's not very helpful. Some kind of techno-y thing. But yeah, I was reading through today about the Benjolin and some other odd generative patches and instruments that have been built over the years, and I thought I should try and make a patch today with less of a plan behind it. It'll have some guidance, but the final result will be far less predetermined than what we've done in the last couple sessions. So a little bit of freedom granted to myself, including the freedom to screw up in case I do, which I might. So, I'm going to just start by saving it. Put it in our correct folder. Not because I have anything worth saving, quite the opposite, but because I do have a name. We're going to do some clocky weirdness, so this one's going to be called Off the Clock. I never cared much about naming my patches on hardware synths, mostly because it's too tedious to input a name. You have to scroll through, letters, and here at least I can type it in, and I've become, my older patches are called things like Deep Space Nine, which doesn't really help you 10 years later when you're trying to figure out what it does, although I guess it reminds you to watch Deep Space Nine. But, yeah, for this one, I'm going to do something weird with clocks, so I'm going to name it Off the Clock. Hopefully that will be a mental trigger when I'm looking at it another 10 years later. You never think you're going to be looking at your own music 10 years later, but if you got a good piece of hardware like this bad boy, at least you have the option. I'm going to start by making something relatively simple. Well, I guess I'm going to need the 8-input mixer. And it's not actually that drum synth. What I want is the other one. Yeah, Perk Osk. Let me have 4 of those. Okay, and I'm just going to tune them to kind of an arpeggio here. So the goal today is not to make an amazing sound. In fact, I was mentioning the Pygmy Gamelan circuit I was looking up from a module made by Nonlinear Circuits called Tinkle. And it has little drum sounds that are tuned to, complementary notes. So that's kind of what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put a 5th above E, and then I'm going to put, what's this? An 11th above E, a flat 7, the D, and then I'm going to put an F sharp. So together this makes like a minor 9 chord, which is missing the 3rd. Let's splurge and do we need the 3rd? I don't know if we need the 3rd. Probably doesn't matter. But let's drop it in anyway. Oh, you get to go here, buddy. There you go. You can be the G. So, yeah, here's 5 little drums tuned to 5 different notes. The main reason I tune them to different notes is so that when we do the weirdness with the clocks, we should be able to hear which note is getting affected in which way, or which one is playing too much or too little. But kind of going to, as I said, give myself the freedom here. So I was talking about how in Jordan's patch yesterday, or in the last stream, he's using a lot of yellow cables, a lot of logic processing. That's definitely what we're going to do today. I can't say I got the idea from Jordan, but I mean, he was giving you a good example of what it can do. Although I sadly was not able to wrap my head around most of exactly what he had put together, I'll try to talk through some of my process and see if I can make it any clearer while I'm here. So we've seen this one before, logic processor. Essentially, this is like a computing circuit, right? I mean, I'm not a programmer, but as I understand it, and exclusive or, which means like minus or, these are all concepts that programmer dudes use. So I've made a couple here just because I intend to use them, although I don't exactly know what for. See, I'm in the logic category here. Logic delay. This is a cool one because, remember, we don't have a digital delay in the Nord Micromodular 1. Well, sorry, we do. We have the audio delay, but it only does, it's 8%, and its maximum delay time is 2.65 milliseconds. So this is not exactly a Strymon Big Sky, people. So instead of making a real audio delay, what some people might do is have a key play a note and then send that same key note to the logic delay and set it to a longer time because it can go a lot longer than the audio delay, and then send another signal again and have it imitate echoes. So I don't know, again, I don't really have a plan here, but I do know what that module does, so that helps. Way to know what a module does. This one I don't really know. I think I want, I'm going to need a random pulse generator. Okay, so these are some of the logic circuits that I generally understand how they work. There's a lot of other ones in here. Positive edge delay, negative edge delay. That should just be the top or the bottom of the square waveform. That is one thing I do understand. What we're talking about with logic is square waveforms. In other words, and this is beginner level stuff for some people, but I'll say it again anyway because I'm kind of beginner at it. We already know we have an oscillator like this guy who can make a square wave. See this square wave here? That's an audio square wave out. Well, if in the old days, if you tuned him all the way down, you could make him into an LFO that had a square wave. But the reason this is connected to computing is because when the square wave is up, it sends a value of 1. And when it's down, it sends a value of 0. We probably have an LFO devoted just to that anyway. One of the slaves, I don't know which one. That one's a sine wave. But, yeah. In computing, we use 1s and 0s to represent bits. So if you want to look at the square wave as a thing that allows you to make, 1s and 0s, then you get into the computing side of the world. So pretty much anything yellow here is designed to have a 1 or a 0 signal sent through it, or to process it. This one, and if you, let's just spell it right out. So when I set the random pulse generator, it has a density or a speed. the clock generators are generating very short little gates, but when this guy is farther to the left, he's always either on or off. But when he's on, he isn't on for just a split second like a guy tapping a key on the keyboard. He's on and he stays on. You can see this one here is now on. The same thing with this guy up here. He stays green for a long time. So if I was to connect this output, random pulse 1, and this one to the logic processor, it's now set to AND. That means the logic processor is saying, I will send a signal out of here when the left one is positive and the right one is positive. If only one of them is positive, I will not send a signal. So let's demonstrate. Let's send the first guy to trigger the first note. You heard that. Let's give him a little bit of a decay so we can hear everything here. So that low note is coming out of here. The second low note is coming out of here. Turn these up a bit so we can hear them. Oh, this guy's not patched in, that's why. So I don't know if you can see the green lights here. See, whenever this guy lights up, we hear the low note. And when he lights up, we hear the higher note. But this guy doesn't have a light, but when both of them play, he will trigger the third note. Hear that third note? And again, you should be able to see both these lights on, or when the second one goes on while the first one is on. There we go. If one light is on and the second one goes on, this third oscillator will play. So that's what we're demonstrating right here and now. Those are a bit boring, so let's just rewire what we got here. So we thought we could, let's send a clock into this one. Oops, still haven't rewired them. And tell the clock, this clock would be playing, 4 beats, but he will only be allowed to play when this green light is on. And send this output to the low note again. So you're getting a lot now because the speed here is high. If I turn it to the left, you'll have moments of playing, but then you'll have other unexpected, quiet sections. That's good. That's a good start. Get ready for this to be a little bit annoying musically, but I'm hoping the demonstration will be helpful. So I'm setting the second clock, who's at a completely different speed, into this one, and doing something similar. So when this guy is green and this guy plays a clock pattern, he will get something. Now here's where I want it to be weird. I'm going to send this one to the reset of that clock, and this one to the reset of the other clock. Sprinkling of sound I was hoping for, but I can fix that. Hold on. I try to figure out some other circuits here. The resetting clocks didn't get me quite what I was hoping for. I think I'm gonna try. No, not that. Yeah. Okay. So a clocked random step generator, or as it's called here, pattern generator, instead of giving me 4 notes to output, it's going to give me patterns in the output. And that's good. I want patterns. Not only that, I'm going to randomize the patterns so they'll be more crazier. And that should give me the irregular clocks I've been so lusting after. So here I clock the clocked random generator. I patch those into those there. And then I take these outputs and make them the resetters. Still getting quite odd. I'm going to patch up some more options here. Just trying to set those resets to be something weird as well. Lots of the bottom 2 notes and not a lot of the higher up ones. Closer to my goal. I can hear you all cheering from the other side of the internet. Keep resetting my clocks by weird ass sources. And by drumming these tempos all the way down as low as they would go. Notice that they won't give me odd numbers, only even numbers. I'm not sure why. At this point, I'm sort of in the experimentation stage. By leaving these guys in OR, I get more of the spaciousness I'm trying to get, distributing the clocks apart from each other. But these guys are now affecting the other guys as well, so if I don't play the first two notes as often, I don't get the other three notes as often. So I may need to repatch what's going into those three logic circuits. Let's just move them so we can see what they're actually getting. So those two notes you hear the most, the two E's, that's these two here. I kind of got them where I want them, so I'm moving the other ones over here to see just what kind of weirdness I got myself into. Let's do them like this. Come on. Okay, so this guy is exclusive OR. Well, that's incredibly stupid. I've patched two of the same cable in, so no wonder that isn't happening very often. Let's give him almost any other source. Yeah. And suddenly we're getting a lot more of that guy. That's, what's his output? Well, he's definitely triggering this guy, the B. But he's also part of that other circuit. So I think I'll stop making him part of the other note circuit and give him a different source, such as one of our crazy clocks here. And his other source is a random pulse generator. I think OR mode is what we want. Yeah. There we go. And finally this guy. One of his is the logic delay, which is a delayed version of just a weird clock. And this one another random source. So instead, let's give him another weird clock. A different weird clock. I know we still have a kind of cat walking on the keyboard feel here, but if we tweak the type of logic circuit we're using, we may get more of a programmable feel. This is kind of what I was hoping for. Again, there isn't much musically exciting happening in those percussion oscillator notes. They're just notes of a chord. They're just a very annoying arpeggio. But it's fine. It's okay to be annoying once in a while, especially if you have headphones on. So let's clean this up a bit here. In the end, these are all just clocks, so they can all just live at the top of the food chain. So we have 4 tempo clocks set as low as they can go. They're feeding various logic circuits, which are then feeding back into their resets. And some of their resets, instead of being a clock, are being a pattern, as you can see down here. And the patterns are being randomized, so they're always changing. They've also been set to quite a long step sequence, so they can have a lot of variety in their pattern. But this is pretty much the only blue signal. He's generating a random CV, which alternates the patterns, but everything else here is a yellow signal. See? All although it looks like I've proved myself wrong, but really these outputs are functioning as triggers, not as CV signals, so whatever way you want to think about it. You can see all the yellow here. And again, these clocks appear to be unplugged, but they are being plugged by these patterns. So the Nord Micromodular doesn't care whether this blue plugs into a yellow input or not, and neither do I personally. I'm just trying to break it down so you can see it. Before I finish this, and I think I will save it one more time, I want to do a little bit of knobbing. Okay, something's wrong with the computer for a sec. Hang on. Let's try that one more time. Knob 1 is going to be morph group 1. I've turned a knob to the left. Let's do them all while I'm up here. And now I'm going to semi-randomly add knobs to these groups, so when I turn the knob to the right, it will increase their amount, although I don't want these clocks to go like 100 BPM, so they're all going to be very small slices of the pizza pie, as you'll see. Actually, this one's going down, not up. The pattern changing won't matter as much. I decided to... So, yeah, there's just 3 knobs mapped to knob 1. I click on green, and then I start control clicking. Just 26 up to 40 BPM there. I increase it a bit, but not too much. And for good measure, I throw in a pattern change, but they're randomized, so it kind of doesn't matter. Last but not least is knob 3. He turned one clock up a little and one down. And the last knob available to me, let's just move the yellow cables. The last knob available is the logic delay, which I'm going to make significantly longer, up to almost 2 seconds. So you're hearing the patch now. And now you can observe this area as I twist the knobs. So a big knob twist in red will only result in a small tempo change here, but collectively they should make things quite crazy. Interesting. They're almost catching up and spilling over each other. Yeah. So that is what it is. Musically a somewhat boring patch, but you could have much more interesting sounds being triggered by the clock system here. In fact, you could delete these 5 and put in anything you wanted. In fact, we've only used 40% of the processing power, and we've made quite a complex and weird random clocky guy over here. So yeah, a lot of room for experimentation. And again, since it's all digital, you can save this random clocky thing and paste it into another patch that has completely different oscillators if you want to, as long as you have 40% of the processing power left. So that's it. I hope you haven't been too annoyed by my arpeggio, but I hope this helped demonstrate some of the clock ideas I was going for. Certainly another one interesting. You might want to go back and compare this to the weird clocks that Jordan was coming up with for his drums in the previous one, and the way he modified those as well. He had his own way of doing it. Even my way, as I say, is I have a limited understanding of what all the logic circuits do, but the few that I do know, and I can tweak until I hear them doing the things I want them to do, still gives me a lot of options. So yeah. Last, of course, is to save it into the patch, into the synth. That's it. Thank you for coming to church. See you next Sunday.